Susan Johnson coming up by us here. Inground. Hooked up. Hard down. Northbound. Above Baton Rouge. Burning that fuel.
My lady's pretty good at fixing people on Saturday every day, except for the day.
We're here at Tiger Fleet, just above Baton Rouge, picking up a couple of empties. We'll have 20 loads or excuse me, 15 loads and 20 empties northbound, headed to Cairo, Illinois. Getting off tomorrow. Today's Tuesday, August the 4th. Getting off Wednesday, August the 5th. Headed back to the Smoky Mountains, to the house, going home for 28 days. Time to get back up in the mountains and do what I do. Ready. Here comes the tug with our other empty. ACBL tug, the Fort Defiance is the name of his tug here at Tiger Fleet. Got her on the hip. There, Captain. Throwing it on the hip. We'll put it up in that starboard lead notch up there we got. Right up there. We had a rake with a 2-barge notch when we got here. Had to slide that rake empty out. That tug right there put his box empty in, and then the Fort Defiance, it's got our other empty. He'll put it ahead of one that the tug put in there, which that'll be 6 long right there on that string, starboard string. And then that empty rake empty they slid out that we had in tow already from Armont Fleet down in New Orleans. They'll drop it back down on top of that box empty. See, what's called capping it off with a rake, because them boxes, see, they're square on each end like a box, and then they don't push real good in the current or it slows you down, see. But when you got them rakes out there, see, this is what the rakes look like. Let me show you. Let me go out here so you can see. See this stern empty over here, it's called the box barge. They're square on each end. They'll hold more cargo, more tonnage. But then these rakes right here, see, on the stern of the boat, these loads, turn them around, and then them box loads go in front of these loads, strung on out 5 long. That's 1,000 feet out there. And then them lead loads in these 2, or in these 3 loaded strings here of cargo. It's what's called a unit, a 5-piece unit, from the stern back here, these rakes, to the bow out there, 5 lengths long. And then we got empties, 2 empties strung out ahead of each string of those 15 loads here, see. It'll give us the overall length of this tow, 1,400 foot long. And then with these loaded barges here, we've got 3 strings of 5 long. in this center right here is where the boat's faced up. It's where it handles the best, where you get your weight distribution in the center. It's where you put your boat, and it steers a whole bunch better. And face her up, get all your Cavalier face up rigging on, get your boat buckled in real good. There's the capstan line for the bow, goes on that caval on the center of that center string of the tow, and then them scissor face up wires keeps the boat from rocking like that and coming out of tow and losing the tow, see. Then we got what's called these face up wire Patterson winches down here. It helps keep the boat good and tight against the toes and toe knees right there. So when you steer on this thing around these sharp corners and curves, switchbacks, what we call them up in the mountains, the tail of the dragon, the switchbacks, that's them 90-degree turns. Well, then you don't steer the boat out of tow. Then you got your Cavaliers. There's your winches for the face of the boat with them Cavaliers. They're not wires, but they're really strong, like wires. Some people say they're stronger than wires, but I don't think they are, myself personally. But they are strong now, but they stretch a lot. And they have to face, when they face the boat up, they get them good and tight on them fittings on them barges there, see? And then as you're going up the river, steering on this thing with all this raw horsepower, triple screw, well, they'll stretch out of those winches right there in the drums. And also those Cavaliers are a synthetic line or wire, whatever you want to call them. They're called Cavaliers, but they'll stretch as you're steering on the boat, you know, hard down, or, you know, 10, 20 degrees going around these curves and these switchbacks in the river. Well, then they'll get some stretch in them, and when they go out to check tow and tighten tow, which is every 6 hours when they come on watch, they'll tighten them up and get the slack out of them winches where they have stretched, see, and it keeps the boat good and tight so you don't steer the boat out of tow. Because if they get loose and the boat goes to, when you steer on it, say like if you're steering to the starboard with the tow and you're turning like this with the tow, this is called starboard rudder, or if you're steering to the port, it's called port rudder. Well, it'll cause them to stretch over, you know, over time. Usually about every watch, they have to tighten them every watch. That's the normal procedure of checking tow. When they go out to check tow, they tighten the boat up. Keeps them steering the boat out of tow and breaking them. When they get loose, a little bit loose, and you throw some rudder to it, well, then they go, and it'll cause them to break and bust. And then you, what's called steering the boat out of tow, and then you lose control of the tow until you can get some more wires or something on it to keep crashing and causing millions of dollars of damage. So, anyway, we're here at Tiger Feet, Baton Rouge, picking these two empties up, and then we're going to head north, which is where them boats are going up around what's called Thomas Point. That's one of them 90-degree turns up there, switchback. Head toward Cairo, Illinois. I'm getting off tomorrow, August the 5th, Wednesday, and headed back to the Smoky Mountains to to my house up in the Smokies. So this is Tobo Toby. Hope you enjoy this video. And as always, God bless America.